Podcasting, the final frontier.
These are the episodes of the Hollywood Horror Nerds. Its ongoing mission to be your source for news, speculation, and discussion exclusively for Universal Studios Hollywood's FanFest nights. To boldly go where no podcast has gone before.
Welcome back, everyone. This is quite an exciting day. We're going to be going over our notes on FanFest.
Yes, we are back from Universal FanFest. We attended last weekend on May the 3rd, I believe. Yes.
Yes,
That was the second Saturday of the event. It was raining, which I think gave an interesting twist to the festivities. Let's just get right into it. Why waste time? Let's just get right into it. What was your overall impression of the event?
Okay, I know you're the good cop, and I'm going to be the bad cop and say it was all right.
It was all right. I liked it. I thought it was good. I thought there were definitely points where things could have been improved, and I think it was points we actually called out before we went about operational problems. But I think the experiences that you created were all very strong. Some of the side activities were not as good, and we'll get to that. And definitely crowd management was an issue. But I was good. I had a good time. I would definitely go again next year.
Yeah, I think the slight, sprinkling of rain gave it a different edge.
It did.
Especially when we were downstairs in the lower lot. That was pretty nice, but there are definitely areas where it could have improved.
Yeah, for sure. Would you go? I think if you are someone who enjoys Halloween Horror Nights, or if you enjoy theme parks, or if any of these properties are interesting to you, I think this is definitely worth the price of a ticket. Maybe not the express ticket. I feel like the express didn't add a lot of value. Definitely the early access would have. But I mean, for $70 for a Saturday, I think it's worth. If you think you're interested, I would say go. That's my top line review.
I could see that. I felt like overall crowd management was to get into places wasn't terrible. Like I feel we could have definitely been able to do it without it and just go in general admission.
Yeah, you really didn't need express. It didn't hurt. I mean, you don't have to wait the 15-20 minutes to go into one of these experiences. You just walk on. But at the same time, 15 minutes to wait for the whole experience, it's not a big wait. It doesn't. I mean, for the extra $100, whatever they're charging, it's not really worth what you're getting. So let's start with the bad and work our way up to the good. So let's deal with what we're calling the operational problems. I think there were two major issues. The first was the weather. I don't think they were expecting it to rain. Although it does rain in LA in May. That's not unheard of. So they should have been, I think, better prepared. But we were there, and it was drizzling kind of all day. It wasn't a heavy rain. It wasn't going to flood. You didn't get soaked, but you could tell it was raining. You were getting a little damp.
It was definitely also cloudy.
After it got late enough, it stopped raining, which was nice. But we were at the Back to the Future in the lower lot while it was kind of sprinkling. And you could tell, I think, they weren't really sure what to do. And I think if it had started raining harder, they would have had to just shut it down. I don't think they were prepared for a heavy rain.
Definitely not, considering that a lot of their electronics, when we noticed that everything was kind of exposed.
Oh yeah.
It felt like a little touch and go for a few minutes.
They started putting the actors in raincoats to protect their costumes, which is actually helpful. We get to that when we talk about the Back to the Future thing, but then you could identify the actors a little better. But like you said, yeah, there's like lights out that are just kind of out. There's music equipment that's just kind of out. A lot of stuff is not protected from the elements down there. Really nothing. I was looking around at some point like, man, I really wish there was an overhang or somewhere I could go under, just get out of the rain for 3 minutes. And I went under a tree, which helped.
Yeah,
and luckily, again, it wasn't raining too bad. But then once we were done with that, it didn't pick up. But I think that is something that they need to think about going forward, because in Horror Nights, the experiences are all enclosed. There's nothing that's really open air.
The good thing is there wasn't any lightning storms that night.
Yeah, no one likes that.
Especially because you're under a tree. That's the thing that gets attracted to lightning.
But you need the lightning storm to go back to the future. How else are you going to
Ah.
generate 1.21 gigawatts of electricity?
Unfortunately, we don't know when a lightning storm hits.
I know,
A lightning storm.
unless sometimes you do. So that I mean that wasn't a huge knock on the event. I just think it's something that was definitely noticeable. So maybe if you're looking at going, check the weather patterns before you buy your ticket and try to find a day that's clear skies because it did not impact the crowd. I didn't feel like the crowd was lessened because of the weather, and this is probably my main negative for the event. Like we were talking before we went, how we're taking the weights for the different experiences for the rides. We're like, wow, these are really low weights. It's not going to be crowded at all. It's going to be a breeze. And it's very deceptive because it's true that to get into Back to the Future or Dungeons and Dragons or Star Trek, which are the main three that you get to cut the line for, it is only going to be maybe 25 minutes at the absolute most. Very short waits compared to what we're used to for Horror Nights, or even just for what you're used to if you just, when we just went to the park last year just to give a review, we waited a lot longer for that, for like the Mummy and Jurassic World just during the day. So the waits for that wasn't bad. But what it's not showing you is that the waits for some of the photo ops are extreme and you can't cut that line. I mean, we went to the Back to the Future area and you want to get a photo with the time machine. They have Einstein the dog in there to pose with, which is really cute. But the line is enormous. It switched backs like 3 times. Like, I'm not going to wait an hour just for this picture. There's people who will. There's people who are addicted to their Instagrams, or these minor influencers come and they need the pictures. That's what they're there for. Also, it looked like the lines for the One Piece meet and greet, if you're there for that, be prepared to wait. Those lines also looked huge throughout the night. The lines for food, I thought, were
The worst.
longer than what we're used to in terms of either for Horror Nights or for general, a park day. I think because it was a themed food, people wanted to try it more than they would have, which is good for Universal's bottom line. But keep in mind, for the photo ops and for the food, you cannot use your Express Pass to cut the line. Also, some of the meet and greets, like the Harry Potter meet and greets, just got swarmed. So you couldn't, unless you were lucky or very aggressive in pushing forward, if you wanted to meet the magical creatures, it was hard to do. If you wanted to do the Wicked meet and greet, that had a big line too. So there were a lot of lines that weren't posted on the apps. You don't realize until you've gone. That's why I think the early access is very worth it, because you can start knocking stuff off early and you can be places early. What did you think about the crowd level while we were there?
Definitely could have been better handled. The food, my gripe with it was the restaurant we attended didn't seem to have rhyme or reason between how they got plates out. It just felt like, as I recall, you were the last one to order food, but the first one to get it.
Yeah, and I got it well before everyone else in our party too. This is funny because we talked about this last time that we went to Universal for a non-horror night, and we had the same issues with the food management. I feel like the getting food out to customers is a solved problem. I feel like restaurants all over the United States, not the world, because I've been international, and I know in England the system for getting food to your table is terrible, worse than Universal. But in America, we've solved this problem. We know how to do it. You get your ticket, it has a number on it. They just go down the line. They give you, when you're the next ticket, I'm next for food. Universal is very random. When the best that I could determine was they were just making batches of the food constantly. So if you order, the targ legs, the Klingon targ legs, and that happens to be the next batch of food that comes out, and they make, let's say they make 5 batches, 5 servings per batch, and there's 4 people ahead of you who ordered it, who haven't been served yet, and you're the 5th, you get in the next batch, you can be served very quickly, which I was. But if you order the Andorian Rat Bat sandwich, which one member of our group did, who ordered first, but let's say they just put an order out for that, and they only make maybe 3 at a time, and there's 9 people ahead of you who also ordered that, you're going to be waiting a long time because they're not just going sequentially. I think that's what they were doing, as best as I could determine.
No, what I noticed is that the person that was handing out food, there was 2 sides to her left side and her right side. She was handing out food from her right side, and there was a lot of it coming. And on her left side, all the sandwiches were getting piled up.
Yeah.
and I had ordered a sandwich,
You
so
ordered
I
a
was
burrito.
like, "Can you?" Oh yeah, the burrito. Sorry, yeah, the burrito. The burritos were piling up, and I was like, in my head, I was thinking, "Do you mind switching sides?"
Which
I
is
don't
that's
mind.
exactly what happened last time I went at the Jurassic Cafe with the mobile order. We didn't have to do mobile order this time, which was an improvement. Like people are just using normal lines, and that was a lot better. But still, the needed improvement. We'll talk about the food a little bit, how the actual food was. But I do agree that
Okay.
that system needed to improve. At the bar, the first real tavern for Dungeons and Dragons was much better because they just gave you the drink. They just have drinks waiting behind them, and you pay, you order, they give it to you. Although the rain meant that the touchscreen on the little cashier device you used to tap your credit card onto was not functioning, so I couldn't give them a tip, which was another thing that they probably should have had a little covering there so it didn't get wet. But
Yeah, they think that because we're in LA and California in general, where it doesn't rain, it doesn't ever rain, which is not true.
yeah, you still have to prepare for it.
Exactly. Um, the next thing that I feel like they could improve on,
We'll
let's
stick with
see.
anything else on, like crowd operations you want to touch on?
I think overall, besides what we said already, that's it on my side. What about on your side?
It
Any last
wasn't a
thoughts?
crushing crowd. Like sometimes at horror nights, we've been in a situation where it's almost hard to move. And it wasn't to that level. It was just that people, I think, because part of the reason it wasn't was people were tied up in these lines for these kind of secondary experiences. So it's something to just definitely be aware of. I highly recommend getting the early access to kind of get around this. Something else to touch on that is also true for horror nights, but we never really think about is a lot of the rides close early. We've talked about how the Harry Potter ride closes early because that's one we always want to do. And at horror nights now, we usually do that as soon as we're done with the maze. We go straight to Harry Potter and get it done early because otherwise you can't do it. And that was the case here as well. What we didn't realize was most other attractions also closed at midnight, even though the park didn't close until 2. So if you're going and you want to do any rides, you should. It's counterintuitive, but you should do the rides first and save your FanFest experiences for the end. Because the FanFest stuff is open until 2, but the general park stuff is not, and that tripped us up.
Not even 12. Some of them closed at 10.
Yeah, like Harry Potter or Jurassic World
Yeah.
closes at 10. I think the Mummy stays open.
I mean, the mummy had no line. Let's be
Yeah,
honest.
that was a walk on, which is
Uh,
great. I love the Mummy. But that's something to be aware of. I'm not going to really knock the event. I mean, it feels like it should have been more clear. I don't know why you're having the park open but closing, Secret Life of Pets. Just let people ride Secret Life of Pets. But neither here nor there. Something to be aware of if you're planning on going yourself. Now, that's all we have for operations. Let's talk about the food. What did you think about the different? And we had quite a breadth of food. I thought we didn't get everything I wanted to try, but we tried quite a bit
the drink that I tried, what was it?
at the Dungeons and Dragons Tavern.
Yeah, the Dungeons and
The orange
Dragons
one, the
tab.
caustic brew or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It didn't. The most I tasted was like the chamoy tahine
There
rim.
was a lot of chamoy on that.
Yeah, that was it. That's all I really tasted. And we had the fireball cake, I believe it was.
The Fireball brownie. I like the Fireball
Yeah.
brownie. And that was the thing I was most interested in trying. It didn't really meet the expectation because I think I had an overestimation of it based on some of the stuff they were saying, but it was good. I did like it. I didn't love
I,
it, but I liked it.
I was just glad that they were so nice and accommodating because our party member who ordered it accidentally dropped it like
Yeah,
5 seconds after getting it,
that
and they
was
were
funny.
kind enough to replace it for free.
Yeah, it was a spicy brownie. It tasted like a brownie, but it had some kick at the end, which is a little different. It was good. We also tried the
Spicy is a
gelato.
strong word. I didn't feel
There
anything.
was spice in it.
Maybe on the side you got, which is another gripe, that the whole brownie didn't taste spicy. It was only if you got it
Mm,
like in
that's
certain
possible.
areas of it.
We also tried the gelatinous cube, which was flavorless Jello. I'm not sure why there wasn't flavor in the Jello. That feels like a no-brainer. That was very strange. I thought the drink I had there was fine. I think overall the food didn't really meet expectations. We tried a few other things. We tried the Harry Potter churros. We tried the Harry Potter meat pie. We ended up getting some ice cream. And then we had the Star Trek food for dinner. So we did have a decent breadth of things, and I really wasn't super impressed with any of it. Some of it really let me down. I thought the meat pie was solid. The churro was not good.
The churro was just basic. It
The
wasn't
churro was a little stale, and they advertised it was different from what they advertised. I think they gave up on their original plan. They said we're going to have different colors and
for the
flavors
houses.
of the cinnamon sugar on it to begin with. So it would have a different. It was going to be this one would be blue raspberry for Ravenclaw. This one would be, green apple for Slytherin, and I think it was like a mango coconut for Hufflepuff, and some kind of cherry for Gryffindor. It sounded really cool. And what it turned out to be was just a normal churro with either blue or red frosting. And the frosting had a little flavor to it, but not very much. It was just normal, like cake frosting. And the churro itself was a little stale.
Yeah, I think it was because it was later in the night, and they weren't the fresh ones. They were
I don't
the
know.
ones
When you
that
go to
felt like they were
Disney,
sitting there.
it's always a fresh churro. I've never had an unfresh churro at Disney.
That's because
And
the
they have like
mouse.
10 different flavors over there now. So if you're going to be in the Southern California theme park game and you're going to offer a churro, there's some real competition. You got to rise to the challenge, and they really let me down here.
Yeah, especially because there was a long ass line for the churros.
There was a big line for the churro. People were excited, and it wasn't what they offered.
And then
And what they had wasn't what was advertised, which was disappointing. The Star Trek food also, the portions were too small. I actually enjoyed part of the food, like the meat portion was fine, the rice was not good. If you like kimchi, it's probably better. Um, but the portion was I noticed that amongst everyone else who ordered that as well. It seemed like the portions were too small.
yeah, everything looked pretty small. Uh, to some regard, I was okay with it. I felt like we had been snacking throughout the day, so I
Yeah, we had been grazing.
honestly didn't need a lot of food.
I mean, the best food we
However,
had was at Margaritaville before we went inside.
honestly, yeah, the nachos. Um,
The nachos and the
so
margarita pie was great.
I wasn't too bummed out that the portions were small. However, had I not been eating or snacking throughout the day, I would have definitely been annoyed.
Yeah.
And especially because one of the foods, it looked um, like it was made of meat until you pay close attention and noticed the
The Vulcan
vegetarian
fritter.
symbol. Yeah, I had to ask, and I was
Yeah.
like, "What is it made out of?" If it's vegetarian, they're like, "Oh, it's Beyond Meat," and I was like,
Yeah.
mm,
It's
"I
very
don't."
LA that they have to
Yeah,
have the vegan option. Yeah, that annoyed me too.
yeah. So I
I
had to
will say
switch up my meal.
so I mean if you're planning on going, I would say your best bet for food. I think if you order the three broomsticks, which you have to reserve a space, but we didn't try it because you have to reserve the space. But I imagine it's pretty good. That's usually their best food option in the park is the three broomsticks. Otherwise, I would stick to the regular food offerings. The Simpsons, the Krusty Burger, and the Cletus's Chicken Shack is pretty solid. And there's a very reliable Panda Express downstairs. So,
Tried and true.
I mean, just stick to what you know.
Oh my god,
Don't
I
go for
saw
the food. I would
people.
say. Maybe the One Piece food is better, but also the line for the One Piece food is incredible. And this is just something I really think they didn't reckon with how much turnout there would be for One Piece. Um, but if you're going for One Piece, you're going to spend a lot of time in that line.
I saw when we were downstairs a couple taking like what looked like really nice photos in front of the Panda Express restaurant, and
I
I
wonder
was
how long
like,
it's going to stay there. I feel like they can't get rid of it because they don't have solid options to replace it yet.
yeah, I was just like, wow, that panda must have really hit the spot if they decided
Yeah.
to take a photo op in front of it.
I mean, we didn't try Toadstool Cafe, which I've also heard is pretty solid. So maybe it was just the places we were going weren't the best, but
But I
that
mean,
was our experience. But
Toastal
we did try
Cafe,
a few. We gave it a real fair shake, I thought.
Toastal Cafe. The thing is, it's now like a staple food. It's not like it's a fan fest food. So no matter what, you're still
Yeah,
gonna
it's
get
still the
it.
Mario burger. You have to like
Yeah,
mushrooms. Everything has mushrooms on it,
exactly. So
which is
it's
thematic, but I don't like mushrooms, so I pass.
yeah.
All right, so that's the food, and that gets through the negatives for me. I front loaded the negatives, and now we can talk about the actual experiences that we had. So let's start. Let's just go in the order that we did them. Let's start with Back to the Future. Now, this we anticipated there would be crowd problems, and there were, but I still enjoyed my time down there. I would have liked to be able to spend more time to try to see more of the show. But I think that speaks to the strength of the offering is that you wanted to see more of it. And then the weakness is that it's actually a little difficult to see all of it because it's happening around you. There's a big crush of people trying to see all the scenes, and the characters are their time is being taken up by a lot of guests who want to talk to them. You have to be a little aggressive if you want to have your moment talking with Marty or Doc Brown. What was your takeaway from the Back to the Future
Uh,
Destination
they
Kill Valley?
they got swarmed.
Yeah, they really did. I mean, this was we
They
weren't
got
there straight away, so maybe if you go later in the night, it's not as swarmed. I thought it would be the opposite, but I think there were definitely a lot of Martys at the event. I had the best Marty cosplay, but there were a lot of people with inferior Marty cosplays on as well. And I
No,
think they all wanted to do Back to the Future first, so it was
it
very
was
crowded while we were there.
it was a Martyverse, and at one point I was confused which Marty was the correct Marty until you
Yeah,
got
that does happen.
closer. And then I knew which was the right Marty because it was the only Marty that was running.
You're right. He was running never, and it was wet. I was worried he was gonna fall.
Yeah. No, but it's okay. He had those auto adjusting sneakers on, so they had to
No,
be
no, no.
good.
That's part two. That's part two. They, I mean, they condensed the whole movie into how long do you think it takes from beginning to maybe 40 minutes? It's not a full hour.
30 minutes
It's a
probably.
pretty short. They run through it pretty fast. And if you really want to see it, I think you would have to be there for at least three runs of the show, because you really have to know where is the next scene going to happen, so I can be waiting there for it to happen, so I can be in the front. Otherwise, you're kind of stuck watching for a stampede of people to happen, and then you join the stampede and hope that you join the stampede early enough that you are near the front. I think they really should have given the actors some kind of little portable microphone to stick it on the belt, because if you weren't in the front, it was very hard to hear the dialogue. It wasn't amplified. I mean, they're projecting, but they're not in like an amphitheater. There's other noises going on. If you weren't in the front, it was hard to hear.
Oh, definitely could not hear anything at all. Uh, we were towards the back mostly because we
We
kept,
were tall.
yeah, we were tall so we could see it.
We
However, the
still are
fact
tall,
that we
actually.
could still couldn't hear them was just an issue. The one who takes the cake as the best character throughout the night was the Biff actor.
The Biff was great. He was the one you really wanted to get some face because he was Biff's a fun character to play. I think because you can be very loud with that character, calling people butt heads, and it's fun to be rude, and if people expect it and they're having fun with it. It's very fun. I don't think we got to talk to the Biff ourselves. We were seeing his interactions with other people, and it looked like people are having a lot of fun with that. We talked to the Doc Brown, which I thought was pretty fun. He was pretty good. The
Yeah, he was very
Marty
nice.
was very busy. I think if you had a Marty interaction, it was very short, and he was usually asking for help getting directions to where to go next because he was really just zipping from one show scene to the next.
Yeah, honestly, that poor actor.
Yeah, he's doing a real cardio. The one
Yeah.
show scene we really got to get a good look at was when Marty met Doc Brown for the first time, and that I thought was really great. It had a great kind of. There was times where the audience would shout out, "Oh, how much electricity do we need?" And everyone knows 1.22 Gs. You shout it out. They're like, "How did you know that?" "Oh, that's so much." And you can get a Save the Clock Tower poster before you go down, and then Marty borrows it to show to the doc when the lightning's going to strike the tower. And the show itself was good. It was like a theater. It was like going to an open theater. The actors, they're LA actors. They were good actors. I enjoyed it. I don't have too much more to say. But then that was really the only show scene that we really got a good look at because we just happened to be nearby when that started. So we were kind of right up front. So we were able to hear everything and see everything.
Yeah, and then the one thing you're gonna all should get used to is the sea of cameras. At
Yeah, that
one
was
point,
obnoxious.
at one point, I wasn't even looking at the characters anymore. I couldn't see them, so
Everyone's playing up an
I was just looking at the person in front of me's phone.
Yeah. Honestly, they would never do this because it would tank their attendance. But if I was in charge, I would make a no camera policy for like during a show scene. Like you can take selfies, but when like the actors are doing something, no cameras.
I mean, they request no flash photography, but the
Yeah.
flash is the really thing that they care about. The recording
Because
part,
it
they
gets in
don't
the
really
actor's
care.
eyes. But if you're in the audience and you see, 50 little bright screens in front of you before you can see the actor, it really gets in the way. And then the finale we had speculated would be some kind of micro stunt show, and it was not. It was just the film being projected onto the courthouse facade. And there was a little pyro effect when the lightning struck. They shot off some fireworks, which was cool. But there was no actual car moving, and there was no Doc Brown swinging down from the top.
Yeah, they didn't. I was highly disappointed. I really wanted to be more physical. It was more screen. The only good thing was just the interactions with Doc Brown, because everyone else, like I said, everyone gets swarmed. The cameras were all in your face. Some people had rigged systems that I was like,
Yeah, the
it was
influencer
really
crowd.
obnoxious. I was like, really, dude.
Well, I mean, when we went there was the second weekend. So you imagine the first weekend was like the press invites, right? If you had been a special influencer who gets a free ticket.
Which I'm
So I
still
imagine
mad we
they did a
didn't get
better
ours
job
in the
managing the
mail.
crowds. This weekend was everyone like us who's a wannabe influencer, but not really big enough to get noticed by Universal was there. And they're all trying to get the pictures. So I do think maybe if you go later in the season, you won't have that same problem. I also think for Back to the Future, more so than the other experiences, you're really going to get out what you put in. So the more you can kind of get into a LARP mindset and have your character and be willing to go up to the actors and maybe push past some other people to get there and start engaging them in conversation, you're going to get more out of it. You're also, if you are willing to spend more time there, maybe sacrifice doing some of the other things at FanFest. Maybe I don't go on rides because I'm spending more time here. You're also going to get a lot more out of it because then you'll have time to do the photo op and you'll be able to learn, oh, I missed this scene last time, but it happened here, so I'll wait here around that time. So now you will actually be able to see the full show. And again, I do think the show is a pretty good show. Everyone I talked to who was there had a similar experience of I didn't get to see everything, but the one or two scenes I saw, I really liked.
Yeah, that's true. You definitely would have to stay there for a little while longer just to get it all out the way. Um, the show was fine. I'm just disappointed there wasn't anything physical stunt show or anything of that.
The stunt show would have been better. I understand
Yeah,
why they didn't
because of
because
the rain.
the rain would have made it hard. It's not, you can't really make that safe. Like at Waterworld, when they're going on like a zip line, they're doing it over water. So if something goes wrong, they fall in water. Here, you're going to fall 2 stories onto a crowd of guests. So there's a safety concern. And also, we even talked about it before we started. How are you going to run the car down the street safely? And the way that they had the street configured, there was no way to run the car down there. Definitely not
Oh
88 miles
yeah,
per hour.
half the street. Oh, not at 88 either. Definitely not that. Half the street was just covered by that photo op with the DeLorean, and they had where the when Marty touches the car touches the electric line, the fire left behind, and the spinning license plate. That was it, and that line was really long, too.
Yeah. Yeah. We were able to get pictures because we were like, we're tall. We don't need to be right in front of something to take the picture. So we
Uh,
took pictures from, 2 yards back, which
yeah,
was,
I was like, our height gives us the good optics that it still looks good.
yeah. Overall, if I had to give this a rating, I would, again, it's what you put into it. We only put an hour in and then we had to move on to do other stuff. If I had been on my own or if I was going back, I would probably spend 3 hours down here and do everything. And that would be a higher rating. But for what it was, I have to give it like a 7.5.
I think for myself, I would have to give it a 5. I expected more and was given less.
Yeah.
So, I don't know if it
Again,
was
I
the
think
rain
I think it's just
or
because we
just
didn't
because.
put as much into it as we
Yeah.
could have. I think if you really commit, you can get a lot
And
more
then
out of it.
the,
Which is
the
that's been my
video.
experience at other. I went to I think I mentioned this last spot, so the Dickens Fair, which is also a LARPy experience, and that was my experience there as well. So if you just kind of go around and you're kind of on the outskirts, it's not that fun. But when you really start engaging with the experience, it becomes so much more fun. I think that's the same
Yeah.
thing here. So just be prepared for that if you're going to come.
And then for anyone who actually wants to attend, like, next weekend is the last weekend.
Is that
It's
true?
already the 18th. Yeah, it goes until
Wow,
the 18th.
that went by fast.
Right? It's only 4 weekends.
We should have gone earlier. I'm giving all this advice to no one's going to be able to take it. Anyways, the next thing we did was Dungeons and Dragons Secrets of Waterdeep. This one really impressed me. What did you think of it?
I didn't realize it was going to be that much of a show. I thought it was going to be more LARPy like Back to the Future, so I was very surprised.
I liked that it was a show.
It was, I guess in my mind, it went down just because I expected the same as Back to the Future for all the installations.
Hmm, interesting.
And then when it wasn't, I was like, oh, it's just a show. I feel like I'm being shuffled around like cattle.
I would say this met my expectation of what it would be. I was impressed with some of the effects they did. Some of them were very basic effects. Like there was one effect that was just they turned the lights on, at the right time. But it was presented in such a whimsical, fun, kind of fantasy way that I still thought it was cool. The giant Xanathar puppet at the end, who's the big boss monster of the dungeon you're going through, was really great. I love that puppet. I had seen pictures of it before online, but it's the kind of thing that seeing it in person is just a different experience.
That is definitely true. They really went all out with the animatronics, the lighting. The actors themselves were hilarious. I really enjoyed
The
their
acting was
banter.
really great. Again, I think they really benefited from, hey, we're in LA. There's a lot of really good actors who can't get work because they don't have nepotism helping them. So let's give them theme park jobs
Sad.
for the
Sad.
season. And they all did. Everyone we saw that was an actor, I thought really knocked it out of the park across all the experiences. And from what I've seen online, I think the One Piece and, the Glinda and Wicked Witch do as well.
Yeah, they really. I told you day of. I was like, wow, they really got an actor that looks very dwarf-like. I don't think his beard was fake. I think it was a very real dwarf beard.
Yeah, I think his baldness was real. And then it was fun because there was the dwarf, I think he was a bard, and then the other woman had some crazy horn and tail combination going on, which was very unique. It was very like a unique Dungeons and Dragons fantasy creature. I don't even know what it was. It's not from Lord of the Rings, so I don't. I'm not that deep into Dungeons and Dragons to know
Lord.
the obscure things. But she did look very cool. Like I said, the effects were good. They had a few different effects of like lightning bolts getting cast and things would appear and a dragon flies over your head at some point. Um, the dragon was a screen-based effect, but it was solid. And the lightning bolt was a real physical effect, which I could tell how they did it, but I didn't mind because it looked cool. I really appreciated it was physical. This was the one that reminded me the most of a Horror Nights experience, but instead of being, just conga lined through, it's a group of maybe 60 people, I would say, 4 groups of 15, all go through at the same time, but they're big rooms you go into, so it didn't feel crowded as you were going through. And you're watching how many shows? I think there were 5 scenes that we saw, and each lasts 3 to 5 minutes. So you're getting a decent show out of this.
Yeah, it was a very good show. I will say. They really played well with what they had. It did feel like Horror Nights, especially when we were going through the different tunnels to get to the front of the line. That felt very much like Horror Nights. And the smoke effect, the fog machine that they were using, everything just gave a very much like Horror Nights vibes until you get to the front and you're like, okay, it's different because during Horror Nights we don't have someone explaining things in front of us.
I think sometimes we should. Like, we've complained about that on the Latin American mazes. Like, what's going on? We have no idea. And what I said to you that I would stand by is if you took this kind of format where it's more of a show and there's more of a story, even if there's less, actual scenes you walk through, but the scenes themselves are a lot more detailed. Like each room that we went in would have been like a highlight level room for Horror Nights in terms of set design. And that's true for Star Trek as well. Like even though there were only 2 walkthroughs, there was definitely more money behind them than each walkthrough gets at Horror Nights. But if you took this kind of more narrative format, maybe you cut 1 or 2 mazes that are bad, Eternal Bloodlines,
Hint, hint.
or just kind of extraneous, a quiet place, and you took that money and you made one cohesive, well put together narrative walkthrough like Dungeons and Dragons was, I think that could really benefit Horror Nights going forward.
Yeah, and then don't forget exorcism. Believer.
Yeah, just cut off some of the chaff and put it in something because I feel like they keep wanting to tell stories as you go through these mazes. And that's a weird format to tell a story in, but they solved it here by making it more of a walkthrough show.
Well, yeah. It's something. It's
It
something.
was a good
Maybe
story
it's-
too. It had some twists, it had heroes, it had villains. What more do you want?
Heroes to villains, villains to heroes.
Yeah, it was good. I would give this. I feel like I'm trying to think like what was the negative? I mean, it was a little short, I guess.
That's just a dwarf, dude. Come on, don't be
I
mad.
have to give it like a 9.5. It was very good.
I'll give it a 7.
7 seems harsh. What did you not like?
Feel like there's room for improvement. I wanted the decorations not to be bolted to the floor.
You wanted to steal the stuff?
I didn't say that. You said that. No, I think it's pretty good. If you give them a high number, they won't improve. So you gotta temper the expectations.
Okay, I don't think they listen to us.
You never know. You never know.
Yeah, they should. We have good ideas.
There you go.
That was Dungeons and Dragons. The last one we did was Star Trek Red Alert. Now, this was actually my favorite of the night. Were you much? I don't. We talked about this before, but just to reestablish for all our listeners, have you been much of a Trekkie before, or was this really your first brush?
No, I've enjoyed Star Trek before. What is it, Commander or Lieutenant Data? Was
Commander,
one of
yeah.
my- Commander
Maybe
Data
Lieutenant.
was-
I think Lieutenant Commander Spock, and then Commander Data.
Yeah, both characters were my favorites in both iterations of Star Trek. I think it speaks to they're so cold and logical.
Yeah, you're known for your coldness and your logic.
No, I don't
For
know.
me-
It just.
I mean, we watched a lot of
the
Star Trek. My parents are huge Trekkies. My sister got into it later in life, and we watched a lot of Star Trek when I was a kid. So it's very nostalgic for me. I don't watch a lot of it now on my own, but it's very nostalgic. And going through this experience, they got so many little details right that really felt like you were there. It was very immersive. If you're a big fan of Star Trek, the little thing. What really hit me was when the doors open. Excuse me. The doors, they open on their own. But there's a signature little hiss sound effect on Star Trek: The Next Generation when doors open. And they had that exact right sound effect, exactly right time with the doors. And I was like, okay, wow, I'm really on the Enterprise now. Which is not something that you usually feel at Horror Nights. I'm not usually that put into a place. I was very impressed. The little details, like I said, you get a little glimpse of the original series Enterprise only on a screen, but that was really cool to me too. They had a good variety of different aliens as you went through. They had, I think, 2 different Vulcans. We had a Bajoran. I've seen an Orion in other pictures. They had an Andorian. And the makeup was very strong. I thought the makeup looked great.
Yeah, I couldn't tell that they weren't human on the last scene on the bridge. I don't know which species was the orange or green. I forget what
Blue.
color they were. Blue.
That's
Not even close. Not even close.
With the antennas.
Yes. I was like, damn, they really went on. I can't tell he's human.
Yeah. I will say the story is not that good. It's just kind of an excuse to walk through the Enterprise as things are going wrong. The antagonist isn't really an antagonist. There's no real climax. It just kind of resolves. But I didn't care too much because I was just taking in the sets, and the actors enhanced that. The actors were mildly interactive. I know I was talking with someone else who went, and she was wearing a Starfleet uniform. She had cosplayed as Star Trek. And she said when she gets in the engine room and the communicators go down, and she's wearing the Starfleet comm badge on her chest. They ask her, "Oh, is your communicator working?" And they worked her into the story a little bit. So I think they were doing engaging you if you were part of the experience, which I think is really great. I think Horror Nights should do that more. Um, but like I did, the story itself a little weak. What did you think of the story?
I would have preferred it if it was the Borg who were trying to board us.
Yeah, if there had been some actual ship combat going on.
Yeah, like if we went to a different place and then the people are like quote unquote fighting, that would have been better. Or if the Borg tried to assimilate us, that would have been great.
I would have liked to see on the bridge, like there's all those scenes in the series where they shake the camera because the ship gets hit and the actors all flail around a little bit, even though it's not moving. I think it might have been stupid, but I think it would have been funny if the actors had all flailed around and they made the sound effect, even though we were standing still. They had one
Would be great if
effect.
someone got
Really,
shot at.
they had one. Yeah, there's no shooting in this. It's all diplomatic. Um,
Terrible.
When you go into turbo lift, they really made it feel like you were in a moving turbo lift. I'm not sure how they did that, but the whole room starts kind of vibrating. It feels like you're going up or down. I really don't know how they did that.
It's
I was
the
very
level of
impressed with that effect.
vibrations. The harder the stronger the vibrations, the more you feel like you're moving. When it slows down, it feels like it was slowing down.
I mean, they must have just put the whole room on a vibrating platform. That's all I can think.
The way I can imagine it, it's almost like being on a shaker, and they just put it on a shaker.
Not like a thrill ride. It didn't feel like I'm on Tower of Terror. It felt like I'm on a fast-moving elevator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I was very impressed with that. And then the teleporter effect at the end was good, not great. It was pretty much what we thought it would be. They have the sound and some smoke effect, and then you're back in the park. That was probably the weakest part of all of this.
One thing I thought we were going to be able to do was that it implied that you were taking pictures at the bridge. I thought the bridge was going to be that bridge. I didn't realize that the photo op for this exhibit was somewhere else. Not even close to the
No, yeah. I thought the photo op was fine. It was just a captain's chair on like a backdrop, but it was fine. Again, I think they didn't want to let people touch the actual screen use bridge too much because it's screen used and they probably want to preserve it to stick in like the Paramount Museum or something. But yeah, you're not actually on the screen used bridge too much. It's a lot smaller than I thought it would be. It looks bigger on TV.
I mean, that's just the camera angles, man.
Yeah. But it was cool. I mean, even beyond that screen used set, they made a big deal out of. All the sets were very good. Really, from the moment you step inside the first shuttle. I think usually there's more of a sequence inside the shuttle, but when we went, there was no lines. You didn't really get held through that, which I was a little disappointed about because it looked really great in there. And then when you leave and you turn back, they actually made the whole facade of the outside of the shuttle as well.
It was very well. They didn't hold back. They splurged on the sets. They definitely splurged. It was very well done. The actors never broke.
No, the actors were great again throughout the whole experience. And I think you get different casts, so I guess maybe another cast is worse, but I don't think so. I think they really nailed the acting for this, for everything, for the whole event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, I wish it was longer. I wish there was an actual villain. And I wish there was like some kind of like actual fight, not just like, we're all freaking out. Why are we freaking out? Holy crap, something's happening.
Yeah, if you had like gone into maybe 10 forward and there's an action scene there, that would have been good. It felt like it did kind of want to have one more scene. This is one I really would hope comes back next year so they can expand on it. But for what it was, I was very impressed. I don't think I can rate it as high as I rated Dungeons and Dragons just because I can point out problems. But on a personal level, I think if you are a Trek person, if you're not a full Trekkie, but if you have some association with the Star Trek fandom, I think this will also be a highlight for you. I have to give it an 8 just because of the story problems we've been talking about, but it's still very strong.
That's a little harsh.
You give Dungeons and Dragons a 7.
I'm gonna give it a strong 6.
6.
Yes, I told you. You're
really hitting these people.
You're really nice. I need to bring you down to more reality, and together we
I feel like I should
average
raise
out.
my score now to improve its aggregate score.
No, you already scored it. You can't back down. So yeah, I feel like if you fix some of those issues, it'll get a stronger score for me. I feel like I need to be a little bit more critical because you are more in the fan face
Because I like
days.
things.
No, you were in the days. You would have accepted it, anything at that point. I
I'm
need
very
to be the one.
critical of horror nights. Of FanFest, I think I'm a little more forgiving because it's their first time and they're trying very hard.
Which is why you still have to be critical, even though it's their first time. They've had all of Horror Nights to learn from, to learn what not to do.
Let's talk briefly about the other things that were unique to FanFest. We didn't get to do all of them, like we said. The One Piece lines, too long, don't care about. But I was able to see the characters, and I'm very impressed with how they brought them to life because it's a physical actor. They're not really wearing like a mask. It's just their face, but with some makeup on. But they look like anime characters. They really brought it to life, and I think it's getting a great reception amongst that fandom.
And they definitely one of the the poor actor, the one who
Oh, the main character is
plays
he's
the
wearing like a
main
little
character.
vest, and that's it
Yeah, that was it, and it was
in the
raining,
rain.
and it was cold,
And he's a
and it was
super energetic character, so he really has to be on.
yeah, it was windy, it was cold, it was raining. I was like, my man, you. I hope you get paid well.
Um, so that was cool. We saw the Wicked actors. They've had them out before, but again, they looked like they were doing good. Little clips I've seen online, again, strong acting performances across the park. Wicked is really not my bag, but if it's yours, that's there too. We did see some of the Harry Potter creatures. We saw the Okami, I believe. I saw them interacting with someone, I think another creature, but again, this was another issue where there was such a crush of people around it that it was not feasible to join if you hadn't been there very early when it started.
Yeah, it was fun because they passed by when we were in line for the churros,
Yeah.
and
So
then
we were able to see
again,
it. We also got in line towards the end because there wasn't much to do at the end. We went to see the Ollivander show, and I saw them pass by while we were in line for that.
yeah, that was really nice. We got to see them twice, um, and the fact that there was no line for Evanders was a great touch at the end. I
Yeah.
had to unfortunately take a step back and use the Myrtle restroom real quick. And when I came back, all of you except for you, thank you for waiting. All the other people were inside, and the cast member graciously let us sneak in.
Yes. Yes. I hadn't seen that show since the first time I went to Airport It's very good. I forgot how fun it is.
Oh my
It's funny
god!
that
Can we
that
talk
stays
about
open,
the?
but Secret Life of Pets closes. I don't understand the logic.
No, no. Let's stick with Evander show. Can we talk about the actor? Oh my god, he had the perfect ASMR voice.
He did, but he wasn't a fan fest thing, so I'm going to brush past that. So we didn't get to see the Niffler, which I did want to see the Niffler. Again, the crowd problems. We saw the Hogwarts Forever projection show that they imported from Florida. I thought it was pretty good. We saw it while in line for a churro. I don't know if I would have been happy just standing and watching it, but while I was already in line for something else, I was pretty happy with it.
It was a pretty good show. I liked it. I enjoyed the fireworks performance of it, and it was a pretty good show. It was decent.
Yeah, it seems ridiculous that Gryffindor always gets to win the House Cup just because Dumbledore favors them,
It's
but
nepotism.
I
It's
can't do
true,
anything
true.
about that. We also did not get to do the Yoshi experience. Again, if you want to do the Yoshi experience at Super Nintendo Land, you would have to show up and pretty much go straight there because there's a big line to even get into that section of the theme park to do that.
Yeah.
So again, it's another crowd problem. Again, that's another one where Express isn't going to help you. That's another one where you would want to get early access to get in there early. And we also did not do the anime show because we had other things we wanted to do.
And at one point, we were just kind of tired.
Jujutsu Kaisen, yeah. Other people in our party did, and we went on the ride of the Hippogriff, twice.
You got to go ride it twice.
Right.
Yeah.
So now that we've graded out all of the sections, What if you had to give an overall score?
I'd say it deserves a solid 8 for everything it did. I mean, it's trying.
I think eight's fair for the first year. I thought there was real. I mean, I want to say flashes of promise, but I think for Dungeons and Dragons and Star Trek, I mean, I feel it was a fully realized thing. Again, there was only three really boutique experiences. You would like it, maybe not a full, 9 from Horror Nights, but get that up to maybe 5 would have been better.
Mm.
I don't know if you can do that without sacrificing quality, but it does feel like there wasn't enough. I think the food really needs to, if you're going to make such a big deal about the boutique food, you really need to step up your game there. And I do think they need to consider having an express line for some of these character meet and greets if you're going to have express. Other than that, I think it's good. Again, I think it definitely was worth going. I enjoyed it. I think I would like to go back if they do it again next year. Speaking of next year, let's take just 10 minutes here at the end to talk about what you think will be or what you would want to have if it does come back next year.
Better. I mean, this is not just a fan fest thing. It's just an overall thing. Better control of the food delivery system. Food delivery. That would make it peak, because then you'll be able to try things, and not be disappointed. A, with the lines, and B, with how it tastes, and quantity. I think crowd control.
But not in terms of, I mean, yeah, obviously we want them to improve quality of crowds and quality of food. But in terms of like what franchises, like what experiences,
Oh, what would I want to come back? I want.
like what do you want to
part
come
two.
back or what would you like to see that's new that you think would work?
Let's see. I mean, if they want to stick with the anime route, if they brought Naruto World to FanFest, I think you get a lot more people.
You know what? I would like to be staying with the anime route. I think would be huge, would really blow the doors off. Would be a Pokemon meet and greet.
I think Pokemon's played out.
You think Pokemon? You think if they have a little robot Pikachu or a giant Charizard puppet that you can go meet and give a hug, you think people aren't going to be lining up around the block to do that?
Uh,
Are you really going to
Pokemon-
tell me you don't want to give Pikachu a hug?
Only if it's an accurately sized Pikachu. I don't want an actor in a Pikachu
No,
costume,
no.
'cause that's
Not
accurate
like a
size.
Yoshi size, like an actual sized. I think it could be really cool to maybe have a like a Dungeons and Dragons, because then you could have a few different puppets as you go
Yeah.
through. Because they're saying FanFest Nights is fantasy, sci-fi, anime, and gaming. So Pokemon kind of hits anime and gaming all at once. I'm just trying to think what's an anime I would actually like to see, and that's the only one that I know.
What about Dragon Ball Z? I think Dragon Ball Z would also be
That would
a
be
large
huge
crowd.
too. Again, I have no connection to it, but it would definitely be huge.
Well, this could be your gateway into Dragon Ball Z.
No, I would go ride the hippogriff twice, but you did that.
Oh, how dare you.
Yeah, again, that makes sense because they did such a good job of bringing kind of the anime art style into real life with the One Piece characters. And Dragon Ball has such a strong visual identity I could see, and so many, distinct looking characters. I think that's a good idea for that next year. In
Either that
terms, I
or
would really
Inuyasha.
like Star Trek to come back, just because like we both said they did such a good job, they can keep some of those props, but improve the story and maybe add another room or two to it. I think would really be crazy.
I think they need to be Chris Pine's Star Trek.
I think they should- Maybe do like original series would be cool.
Ooh, you're going back.
Yeah, that would be fun to see. I would also say just bite the bullet and have someone playing Kirk or playing Picard. Like we'll know it's not really William Shatner, but I don't care. It would be fun to see the character. Maybe do a picture with that. I mean, I think that would improve the photo op you were talking about instead of just saying, "Oh, here's you sit on the bridge on yourself," which was fun. I think it would be cooler if Mr. Spock is there behind you as you take the picture.
Oh, definitely. Spock, Picard.
Yeah, like
I
a
want-
meet and greet for like Spock, Picard, Kirk, and Data. That would go crazy. I'd wait in that line.
I would wait in the data line if they each had to have their own separate lines. But if we can get them all, I would be very happy.
I think you would do like a Kirk and Picard, and then a Kirk and Spock, and then a Picard and Data. I would wait in both of those lines. I'm not even a huge Trekkie, but that sounds great.
Yeah. I would do that too. I
I
think
think
for
for
Back to the Future, if they did part two, did you notice that Clara was it? Was that is that
yeah, there was
Doc's
some
wife?
cosplaying that. That was fun.
Ah, I was like, is that an actor or someone cosplaying? I couldn't tell. Yeah, I think yeah, part two of Back to the Future definitely that's a no brainer. Um, let's see for Dungeons and Dragons, what could be an
Well, let's
appropriate?
before we jump off, I think it does make sense to do part two because I was trying to think of what other franchise could you even have a similar experience where you're going onto the back lot. Because I mean, maybe Jaws, but that's so much of that area is just water. It feels like you can't really walk around. The only other thing I could think of was you do something in Little Europe with Universal Monsters, but you would have to have some boutique construction done to set up a little, laboratory area. It couldn't all be transported into the streets the same way. Or maybe it's just a monster match is going on. You're just there and you can talk to Dracula and the Invisible Man and try to import a little bit of that, epic universe, dark universe energy into the West Coast. Otherwise, I mean, maybe a western, but what's a huge western that you could do that people would want to go see? I think you. So I do think repeating Back to the Future is smart. Doing the second movie um, is tricky because they're not at the courthouse square for that much of the second movie. It's a pretty short sequence, but it got a huge response, and I think more Back to the Future the better. So I'd be down for that to come back.
Yeah. Unless they do a Clint Eastwood movie.
Talking
Some,
about you could, but again, about what's like. Do you really want to go talk to the man with no name? He doesn't talk much. It's not as
he
fun
doesn't
as
even have
Back
a
to the
name.
Future.
Back to the Future Part Two has some good villains. I feel like
It
people would
does.
dress up
It
as them.
does. It would be fun to see that set all futurized too.
Yeah,
But definitely try to include a stunt show.
that would elevate it so high.
Yeah, and figure out the line situation. I think for Dungeons and Dragons, if we're saying this is fantasy, what else can we do for fantasy? I think Lord of the Rings is still the obvious answer to that. You could very easily see the Green Dragon Inn or the Prancing Pony Inn as your food destination. And I could very easily see a walkthrough where you're going through Moria and you can see all the iconic characters. Again, could have some great meet and greets going through there. You could be Gimli and Legolas clearing out the mines of Moria after the movie. Um, that stays in canon. That's something that actually, if you read the epilogue, which I did at the very back of the book, that's something that happens. So I think that would be great. Anything you would like to see for fantasy or just more Dungeons and Dragons?
I don't know, cause I'm not a big. I enjoy fantasy, but I wouldn't say I'm a big fantasy fan. If that makes sense. Like I'm not.
Mhm.
I don't pay too much attention to fantasy.
I think if you want to tie in the gaming aspect, you could also try doing the Elder Scrolls, which is a video game. If you know Skyrim or Oblivion or Morrowind, they've all been pretty big. Haven't had one in a while, but it's the same company that does Fallout, and we are speculating that a Fallout maze is coming. So it might make sense to have Fallout be at Horror Nights, and then have their other big fantasy franchise be at FanFest Nights, which I would love. 'Cause I
That's.
love those games. That would be very cool for me to walk through.
I don't. I never was into those, so I'll refer to your judgment on that.
Okay. We'll have you over and we'll have you play Skyrim sometimes. It'll change your life.
You say that now. We'll see.
The last one would be just gaming. So what? I mean, for this they had Dungeons and Dragons and a little Super Mario. I think in terms of crowd, I think going for more Nintendo makes sense. Maybe bring in the Legend of Zelda. I would like to see Kirby. Have like big guy in like a little Kirby costume. I
That's
don't
for
know
the
how you would
children.
do
The
that, but I like
children
Kirby.
would. The children would all dress up as Kirby.
Everyone loves Kirby. What's not to love? He's named after their lawyer.
Nah, that's hilarious.
I think that anything you would like to see from gaming as our last pillar of, or anything else from sci-fi. I guess we're saying I like Star Trek coming back. I like Back to the Future coming back. The only, I mean, maybe a Terminator walkthrough, but that might be more Horror Nights
No.
coded, to be honest.
Yeah. It can't be something that would be specifically like Horror Nights
It can't be too
coded.
scary, right?
Exactly. It has to be
Universal
something
Monsters would
different.
work because you can do that in a not too scary way.
But Universal Monsters has already has the moniker
They've
of
been
being a
at
horror
Horror Nights
nights.
too, yeah.
Yeah, so it's not really something that they
But I
would
think they're
do.
really pushing the Universal Monsters as a big franchise for them now.
Maybe if they pushed in Art the Clown.
No, not a FanFest.
uh, the
What do
only
you
thing
think
I could,
sci-fi? They can't get Star Wars. They can't get Alien. All that's Disney now.
unfortunately, yeah, Princess
There's not.
Leia is more than just a. She's a Disney princess now.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
thin pickings for sci-fi after you get past Star Trek.
yeah, I'm not sure what it could be, what they could replace it with. The only one, yeah, like Lord of the Rings. I would definitely dress up as an elf. I have the height for it.
Yeah, you'd be a good elf.
I have
See,
the
if I
height
go
for
with
it.
you, I can actually be a hobbit. It'll make sense height-wise.
Yeah,
Yeah,
although we have a smaller hobbit, we could
that's
take.
true. I'd have to be Aragorn, I guess. I can make that
Or
work.
you could be Ian.
Which
You
one? I
could
can
be
be
the. You
Boromir.
could be was it the Gray? Well, what's his name?
Gandalf.
Gandalf the Gray.
I could be Gandalf. Yeah, that'd be
And then,
great.
yeah, you gotta just take two costumes.
Yeah,
And during the
and you know,
beginning,
this is the people who own the Lord of the Rings right to their franchise. Used to be owned by, I mean, J.R.R. Tolkien passed away, and his son, who he kind of viewed very close with, Christopher Tolkien, managed the estate, and he was very selective about who gets the property. But he
yeah,
passed away a few years ago as well, and it's actually not too far away from some of that stuff entering public domain. So the new holders of the IP are kind of in a gold rush to monetize it any way they can. So I think it is quite feasible for them to get that IP now.
I thought Disney made it so that some of these works hit the public domain like even further down the line.
No, they've stopped pushing it back. That's why Steamboat Willie's public domain now and Winnie the Pooh.
No
And we're
way.
actually not far away from Mickey Mouse himself becoming a public domain property.
Hey, they won't be able to sue us if we put him on our stuff.
I'm going to rename our podcast The Mickey Mouse Show. What can they do?
Nothing except be mad.
All right, I think that's a wrap for FanFest. We're at a little
Oh,
more than
sorry.
an hour. And
I
that's
just did a
good
quick
start.
research. Lord of the Rings will enter public domain in 2050 to 2051. So,
Yeah, it's coming up.
dude,
They got another 25 years to monetize it.
it's not around the corner.
It's coming up. We'll live to see it.
Yeah,
But you have to also consider The Hobbit is going to become public domain before that as well.
yeah, we're gonna be hitting like almost retirement age.
Yeah, and then I'll be able to put my retirement savings into making my own Lord of the Rings movie.
Oh my sweet Jesus. Okay, if you say so.
All right, I think that's a wrap. Unless you got anything else to talk about FanFest wise.
Nope.
And now I do think they are holding off on announcing anything for Horror Nights. I think they want to let FanFest Nights have its time and let it
Of
breathe.
course.
So, like you said, the last weekend apparently. This is news to me, but it's going to be next weekend on the May 18th. Then is the last day.
Yep.
So I would
Last
expect
day.
us to start getting Horror Nights announcements towards the end of the month. And tickets usually go on sale early June, so keep your eyes out for that. We have a whole new system with our little group of buying tickets this year, so we can get the dates and the times we actually want, which is exciting for me. Yeah, we'll be back when there's Horror Nights news to report, probably in June. We'll be back, maybe the end of May if something very exciting happens, but I think we're targeting June. So until then,
Stay safe
everyone
out there.
stay fantastic. Thank you for listening to this production of the Hollywood Horror Nerds. We know you have many options for your listening entertainment, and we're glad you chose us. Find us on Instagram at Hollywood Horror Nerds, on X at HW Horror Nerds, and on YouTube at Hollywood Horror Nerds. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite alternative podcast site to ensure you don't miss next month's episode. And until then, stay scared out there.